This is TJ with TechMadeEZ. Welcome to the channel. My channel is all about making things affordable, practical, and easy. What we're going to be talking about today is Linux VMs. Now, this is the whole thing. When I went to Linux, I did not want to give up on one of my Windows software. I'd found substitutes for all the others except for one, and that was my video editor. I've been using this video editor for the last 20 years. Now, when I say that, it was first started out as a music editor. Then they offered a video editor, so I bought it years ago. I own it. There's no subscription fee. I didn't want to give it up. So I was using two computers at the time, and this video editor is Sony Vegas Pro. So I went down trying to install it in a VM, but the VM, they just wouldn't work. They were just too laggy. The audio and video just wasn't syncing up. Now I can do a video pass-through in a VM, and then that way the video then then I don't have that problem. But there's two problems with that. One, once you do a video pass-through and you only have one video card, then you don't have access to your Linux desktop until you exit Windows. That's like dual booting. The other one is that you can have two video cards, so then you have to have two monitors. I didn't want to have two monitors. I got a big monitor. I got a 40-inch monitor. I didn't want another monitor. So I was at a quandary because I just couldn't get my video editor to work efficiently in a VM. Well, I finally found a VM. Now this VM's company's been around for a long time. They were just bought out by Broadcom. And I was really afraid that they were going to take away. There is a free version of VMware. If you're going to use VMware as a personal VM software, it's free. And I don't know how many people know that. I know that people have done demos on YouTube with VMware, but when I saw it, they touted that the graphics were really efficient, and sure enough, I could edit my videos. Now, I don't edit my videos in high quality mode. I edit in what's called a preview auto mode, but it works fine for me. Everything syncs up correctly. I'm able to do it. So if there's a piece of software that maybe you're looking at that you can't install with Wine, or you can't find a substitute, this might be the answer for you. So there's two things we're going to do here. We're going to create a customized window ISO. This window ISO, you can get it down to either 40 to 50 processes or 70 to 80. What I'm doing is 70 to 80. If you go down to 40 to 50, that means you're getting rid of Defender. I run it with Defender. I still want some security there. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show you how to make this custom. It's the easiest way possible, because there's a lot of people that show how to do customized ISOs, but a lot of them aren't that easy and they're confusing. This is the easiest way. So we're going to install that. We're going to install the VM. We're going to go ahead and get VMware, install our Windows on that VMware. Let's get started. So here's my Linux desktop, and right now the only thing I use Windows for is for video editing. But sometimes some of the YouTube videos I make, I do need to go into Windows because there's some utilities that I'm going to go over there in Windows. So if I go right here, I already have this open. So this is my Windows 11 right here, and so now I wouldn't suggest that if you go to Linux and you want to run your whatever video editor you're going to run, and you're doing video editing for a profession, you wouldn't want to run it this way. In fact, when I'm running this, I'll just start playing this. I have the sound turned down, and you'll notice that my transitions right there are happening. Now I have this in auto preview mode, so it's not in the highest preview mode possible. But when I'm making these videos, I don't need them in the highest video mode. I'm not saying that this particular VM, running Windows in a VM, is going to solve a lot of problems. And now I have seen YouTubers say that you can play games with VMware. That, if they're simple games, you cannot install Steam and play AAA games in here. So I remember one YouTuber playing a game, and he made it sound like, yeah, you can use this to play games. That is not true. So whenever you run anything on a VM, it's never going to be as efficient as running it on hardware. But if you need to run a VM maybe once a week, some program, and you can't install it through Wine in Linux, and this is a program I cannot install in Wine Linux, and so if I could, I would, but I just want to show you this. And then also too, if I set something on a USB and I wanted to put it into the Windows here, then if I plug in my USB, it's going to tell me, hey, there's a USB plugged in, and I'm just going to hit OK here. And then so what I'm going to do though is down here at the very bottom, and you may not be able to see this very well, I apologize for that, right here at the right bottom, I can right mouse click on this and I say connect, and then it'll connect to that USB. It's saying, hey, it's connecting, and now I have access to that through my file manager here in Windows, and there's the E drive. That's the USB I just put in, and I can grab stuff off of there, so on and so forth. So I just want to show you that VMware is very, you shouldn't have any problem with your audio working or anything like that. It should automatically see your audio and it starts working. I've never had a problem with my audio not working in here as well. Again, I just muted this just because I didn't want the sound playing while I was trying to talk about this. But so, and like I said, I'm using Sony Vegas Pro, and so this is what I'm using Windows. But what I like to do is I like to have Windows be as clean as possible, and I looked at a whole bunch of ways to make a custom ISO. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and make a custom ISO. Now, when I'm editing videos in Windows, I don't use the browser, but just to show you how efficient this VM is, we can play this YouTube video. And I don't know if I'll get a strike by playing the sound, but you can see that it runs really smooth, really easy. And again, I'm not saying you'd want to run a lot of high-end things in a VM when it comes to graphics, but again, this allows me to do my video editing. To me, it's just the cleanest VM software that you can run Windows 11 in. So, but before we do that, because we are going to install VMware, I'll show you how to do that. We need to generate our XML file that automates installing Windows, where it strips out all the requirements. So when you go to install it, you just have to point it what hard drive it's on and go, and then it installs, and it bypasses all the Windows 11 questions that you have. So let's just go here. This is called Generate Automated XML file. So so there's going to be a few things we're going to need. We're going to need Windows 11, obviously. We're going to need a program called AnyBurn, and you'll see why we need AnyBurn. And I'm doing this in Windows 11 because I have to create these tools that I'm using are Windows tools, with the exception of the website. So, but with this website, and again, this is the easiest way. There are lots of people that have how to create a custom ISO on YouTube, and I've tried many different ways, but some of them are confusing. Some of them rip out too much stuff, and it's just, they're not very straightforward. This is the one that I found was the most straightforward one to use. It's pretty simple, but it's powerful. If you want to go through and do a lot more than what I'm doing, you can do that as well. But the first thing, it's going to come up here, it's going to automatically assume that you're doing English here, so that's always going to be set. There is a second language that you can put in here, and then you can choose a 64 or 32-bit. I don't know why you do 32-bit. It's already on that. And whenever I create a custom ISO, I always bypass the TPM, because sometimes I'm putting it on systems that doesn't support Windows 11, and then allow Windows 11 to be installed without internet access or internet connection. So now you can let Windows create its own desktop name. I like to do my own name, and I'm just going to call this TechMadeEZ, and then you can set your time zone here if you want, or you can let Windows determine it. I don't really care about that. Windows is pretty good at finding your time zone. This is partitioning schemes. I just leave it default, but if you want, you can choose your own here. I just leave that default. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to do in here is default. That's what makes this nice about this. You're not having to worry about trying to figure out all these options to do with your ISO. But again, we're using two tools here to do this. We're using this website to create an XML automated file. Then we're going to use AnyBurn to create our ISO. And then we're going to, once we install this, we're going to use Titus's tools to tighten it up and remove more services. So we're just going to go in here. I'm not messing around with any of this stuff. I use the generic product key. I leave that there, or you can enter your product key. Now, one thing I will do here is I will change this, and I'm just going to put me as the administrator. So I'm just going to put me in here. And if you leave this password blank, there won't be any password, so you can choose whether to do that or not. I'm just going to put in a simple password here. Now again, I'm creating this for me personally, and so and it's just a VM, and I just run that VM, so it's not open all the time. So, but I'll put a password in here just for if you feel more comfortable putting a password in here. And I'm just going to put in a really simple password, 1234, and so. And of course, I'm going to be the administrator here, and I'm just going to take this user out,
I'm the only one that's going to be using this. So it's just, this is just saying, do you want to log in as administrator first? Yeah, I'm just leaving that. You can add user accounts in here, blah blah. I mean, again, this is for a VM for me, and I don't want the password to expire, so I'm not changing that. I'm just letting it. I'm just keeping the default policies here. Like I said, I don't change a lot in here. I don't change any of this Windows Explorer stuff. And one thing, but we will, when we get down here, I am going to disable the widgets. I don't want any widgets. I am going to use the classic right-click theme. And if you want the toolbar on the left, and that's where you would do that here, you can change that in Windows 11 also, but it'll just automatically put it there. I actually like the toolbar in the center, so I'm leaving that. You can delete all these icons from the toolbar down here. I don't really care about that. It's easy to delete those when it's there. Hide Edge first run experience. Yeah, what the heck? I'll just do that. And then so right here you can disable Windows Defender if you want. I'm not going to do that. I still run Defender when I'm in my Windows here, but you can do that if you want to. I don't really mess around with most of these here, and you can read them. Like disable Smart Screen in Windows 11 or Windows Edge. You could do that. You can disable the Smart Screen there. You could. Anyway, you can disable Smart App Control, whatever you want to do here. You can read those kind of things. Now I do want to enable this long path, and I don't really care about remote desktop. Again, I'm just running this in a VM. I don't care these. Now I do want to allow execution of PowerScript scripts, and so that one I do want, because we are going to be using a PowerScript as well. Again, there's just a whole bunch of other things like turn off the sound. No, I don't want to turn off the sound. And then there's others. Now, the one thing that I am going to do, and you can read these for yourself, but the most important, I'm just marking the ones that are most important to me. And one is I want to disable BitLocker. I do not want BitLocker on. If you're creating this for your desktop and you're going to run any of these things, it will install like this VMware tool, so it'll install this stuff. But I'm obviously not going to be running a VM in my VM. So you can skip the Wi-Fi configuration if you're putting this on a laptop, and I do that. Or you can set up your Wi-Fi configuration here if you want, so it's automatic. But then there's all these other customized things that you can put in here. I don't even know what they are. So down here, disable all. We want to disable all our personal stuff, history to Microsoft, and then down here, this is the default here. But I like my numlocks turned on, so I'm going to put this here, and then originally it will say off, but I want the numlocks on. And part of the reason why I want them on is because I use 1234 as the password. And this is just a wallpaper. I'm just going to leave it the default. Now this is the part that's important here. You have to select all these. Now that all these are selected, all these will be deleted. So what I do is I go ahead and then click. I go ahead and click on the ones I want. I don't mind the 3D viewer. If you want the camera roll thing, then you can put that on here. I don't care about the camera. Anyway, you can go through here. I obviously don't want Copilot. I don't care about. I'll leave Internet Explorer on there for now. I can always delete that later, but and so I am going to let it install Internet Explorer. But all these others, News, Office, OpenSSH Client, 3D Paint, I might use that. Sometimes I will edit a few things, look at a few things in there. Obviously, Power Automated, I'm leaving that the way it is. Recall, obviously I don't want recall. Snipping tool, yeah, I'll leave that on there. I don't need sticky notes. I don't need to do media player. I don't need that. WordPad I do want on there. Obviously, I just don't want any of these. So you'll see I do want Notepad on here. I obviously don't want OneDrive. I'm just using this in a VM. I'll leave all the PowerShell here. I don't care about remote desktop. Solitaire, I don't care about that. Teams, I don't record, blah, 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 blah. So I don't want any of these here. If you want, you can put Windows Media Player, but I'm not going to be using that. I do want the calculator. Sometimes I use that. I'll use the clock. Again, this is just for a VM. So if you're doing this for an install on a computer and you're going to be using Windows 11 on a daily basis, then maybe you want to keep more of these in here. I'll keep photos in here, and pretty much the rest of these, maybe paint, but pretty much the rest of these I don't want. Okay, so now if you don't know how, or you haven't downloaded your Windows ISO, you can do that right here. So that's what this section does here. Actually, I'm going to back up here for a minute. I want to open this up in a new tab because I just want to go over this real quick. So now you just go here, and we want to go to this section where it's Windows 11 disk ISO is what you want, and you're going to select your ISO, and it's just the multi-edition. That's all they allow you to do anywhere. Hit the download here, and then what it's going to do is going to ask you some more questions. It's going to ask you your language, and we're English United States. We're going to confirm that. There's only a few questions that Windows is going to ask you before this starts to download, and we do want the 64-bit. And once you hit 64-bit, it's going to start to download. Now I've already downloaded it, so I'm not going to continue that, but I just want to show you that real quick. Quick and easy, and then that'll throw Windows 11 in your download folder. So now we continue to go down here. Again, these are scripts that you can put in. I don't mess around with any of this stuff here. So I'm actually just going to go down here, and I just leave all these default. I really don't mess around with any of these. I usually don't have to really mess around with any of this stuff that's in here. If you want to do that, again, you can. There's just a lot of stuff to modify in here, but that's up to you. So once you do that, then you go ahead and you just download your XML file, and we're going to keep that. And so now this XML file, we're going to use this when we create our custom ISO, which is real easy. I mean, let's create that custom ISO right now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up AnyBurn. Again, I'll leave you the link for AnyBurn. If we go back here to AnyBurn is right here, and you'll just hit the 64-bit download. Again, all the links will be in the description below. What you want to do here, though, with this program, it's got a lot of options here with AnyBurn. We're only looking at the edit image file, and so we're going to go ahead and grab our ISO, and my ISO is right here. So here's my Windows 11 23H2. Depending on when you're doing this, you may have a higher version than that. I'll just go ahead and hit open here. Then we're going to hit next. And now what we want to do is we just want to add our, let's go to downloads. And we just want to add this unattended XML file. And so we just hit next. It's going to ask you, where do you want to put this? And so obviously we want to change this because it just has the path to where my ISO is at. Well, I don't want to save it there. I'm just going to save it to the desktop. So I'll just put desktop here, and I'll hit save, and then you hit create now, and that'll take several minutes for it to create that. Then we'll go ahead and we'll put this in VMware. Yes. Okay, now that we've created this ISO, we're going to go ahead and put it in a VM. But if you wanted to put this on a computer itself, standalone computer, then you could use any burning software that allows you to create a bootable drive. But in this case, I'm going to use Rufus here, and I'm not going to go over the details on this. I've already got a USB drive in the system, and so it automatically recognized that, and I'll just go ahead and select. If you're going to use Rufus, I'm showing this for a reason, so we'll just select our ISO that we just created, and and then when we go to hit start, if any of these boxes are checked, check them all off, because what will happen is it'll overwrite the automated XML file that you already produced. So you can just hit OK, and then it'll burn it. It'll make your bootable USB install USB disk. So let's go ahead and install this in a VM. All right, so let's go ahead and get our VM installed, and then install Windows 11 on our computer on our VM. So here we're at the VM website, and I'll leave this link down below. Since
VM got bought out by Broadcom, I was really worried that they would take away the free version of it, but they haven't taken it away. But they have. So the free version was called VM-Workstation Player. Now they're offering VM-Workstation Pro. I think they're probably going to phase out Player and just have the Pro be commercial or a personal. If you use it for personal use, it's free. Now you're going to notice here Vision 13 Pro, that is for the Mac. So if you're running a Mac, this will be what you would install, so you can install Windows in a VM on a Mac. All we have to do here, though, is we just go down here. We're going to click on VM-Workstation Pro, and then it's going to take you to the download website. Now, when you come here, it's first going to ask you for your username and password. But because I've already logged in, then it's not asking me for that. So it will ask you for your username and password. You do have to create an account with them, but there's no fee or anything like that. So then it'll take you here, and then what we have here is you're going to notice here we have Workstation Pro 17 for personal use on Linux. You can also get it for Windows. And then the other one, like I said, Fusion is for the Mac. So we'll just click on this here, and here are your different versions. And I'm just going to click on a version here, really quick. I'm going to click on an older version because I just want to show you something here. So when you go to download this here, you're going to hover over this. You're going to see it's blocked out. At first, I was trying to figure out what was going on because I didn't look to the left here where it says agree to the terms. If you hit agree to the terms, then you can download it. But I'm not downloading this version here. I'm actually going to download the latest version, which is right here. I've already downloaded it, but it's not very big. In fact, I'll just go ahead and download it again. Like I said, it's not very big at all. Basically, I think what happens is the install reaches out to the internet and installs it from the internet. So I'm just going to go to my download folder here. It'll be in my download folder here. On top of that, Windows 11 is over here. I copied that from the server, that Windows 11 ISO that we created. Go ahead now and install this. So you will have to go to the command line to install this, but it's really simple to install it. So let's just go ahead. It's just 2 commands to install it, and that's it. And everything's going to be in the description, so it's cut and paste. The one thing I'm going to do here is let's just go to the downloads directory. Do an ls, and there's our 2 files that we have right there. So at this point, we're going to need to type in this command here, the chmod command. We need to make this executable, so it's just chmod space plus x, and then if you just type in VM and hit your tab key, it'll find that, and so you don't have to type the whole thing in. So we'll do that first. Then to install it, all we have to type in is sudo space / just type in VM, hit the tab key, and it'll find that, and then we'll just go ahead and put in our username, and then it'll just go ahead and install. It doesn't take that long to install, but we'll pause the video for a sec. Okay, so once it's done installing, it'll just say installation successful, and then then you can find it in your menu, your Linux menu. It's under administration in Linux Mint. I'm assuming that's where they're putting it in all of the distributions. Now, one thing I do want to point out here. So it installs both VMware-Workstation Player and VM-Workstation Pro. I think they're going to phase out this player because they're offering the Workstation Pro for free. Before, if you wanted a free version, you would do the player. The player was the free version. And so we're going to go ahead and do this in VM-Workstation Pro. So let's go ahead and open that. Like I said, I think they're going to phase out the player. So we'll just go ahead and accept our agreement here. And then it's asking if we want to share with our experience with their research team. I don't want to do that, so and we'll just put in our password. Now, once you put in your password, it may ask you if you want to use the free version. For some reason, I downloaded this one a couple of times, and it asked, do you want to use the Pro version or personal use? And personal use is the free version. So if that screen comes up, just click on the option personal use. But once you do that, then this is where you go in to create your virtual machine. Okay, really quick, I just wanted to go over what I'm running this on. Now, this is my test bench here computer. It's not the computer I edit on, but I do have, I put Linux Mint 22 on it. I do use Linux Mint Cinnamon, and then it's got Intel Xeon CPU at E5 2690B4. It's got 14 cores, 24 threads, 62 gigs of RAM. This might be a little beefier than what you're using, but it might be comfortable. I just have an NVIDIA 2660 Supra on here, and this is the card that I used to use. I did upgrade to a RTX 3060, but it didn't make any difference on my video editing. Now, the only thing is when you run Windows in a VM and I'm running my video editor, I can't take advantage of NVIDIA's InSync unless I was doing video pass-through. And so I try to get my BBS computer I have, because I'm just crunching my video export with pure raw CPU power. But it works. Anyway, so let's get started. Okay, so all right, so once you accept that you're using it for personal use, you'll come to this interface here. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new machine. And if you've set up a VM before, this is pretty straightforward, just like most VMs are. But we're and I just use the typical recommended, and so you're just going to hit next. In here, you're going to choose your drive. It may be here, it may start here, use physical drive, but we're actually going to use our ISO that we just went ahead and created. So I'm going to browse, and that's in my download directory, and here it is right here. So then I'm just going to hit next. You can name your Windows VM anything you want. I'm just keeping it on Windows 11. Now, one thing you're going to notice here is that it puts when VMware installs, it puts a VMware folder in your home folder. So here's my home, TG is my username, and right there. So this will be in there. So you can go into your home folder here, and in there, in fact, if we go in here right now, it's already created that. It's right here. And so that's where it's going to store that. It makes it real easy to back it up. You can just copy it, make a copy after you've got everything installed, but we're just going to go ahead and install here. And we're just going to put a password for our TPM. Now, in my case, it doesn't matter. I went ahead and bypassed the requirements for the TPM, but it's gonna assume that you need that here. So we'll just go ahead and put our password in. You can put in whatever drive space you want when you're creating your disk drive here. I'm going to put in 100. I'm probably not going to need 100 because I'm just going to install Windows 11 here. I'm not going to be putting any more programs on here just for demoing purposes. Now, it's going to default to this split disk into most files. I've never used this before. I want it all in one file. Makes it easy. It's just all there in that folder, and just copy to back it up. You can actually move it to another computer, or you can copy that and run it on another computer so you don't have to reinstall it. It's pretty great. So now we're just going to go ahead and hit here. Now we're going to set up our hardware in here, so we're going to customize this. Its default is 4 gigs. I'm going to give it 10 gigs is fine. And as far as processors go, we've got we're going to do 1 processor and 12 cores here. And I've looked onto these here, and really probably shouldn't do any of these. They can slow the system down. I don't remember what they're for, but everybody said that you should just leave it as default. Now the network adapter, I'm going to put Bridge, because Bridge will, what Bridge does is it allows it to share my IP address that IP address scheme that I'm running in my house. If you do NAT, it'll create its own IP scheme, and I want it to use my house's IP scheme. Now display, the one thing that makes this one efficient is it has this accelerated 3D graphics. So some of the others do too, but it just doesn't seem to work as good as VMware. So, and it will automatically, the most it will grab is 8 gigs of RAM from your video card. Now, one thing that's important here, if you're running NVIDIA, a lot of times when you install, like on Linux Mint, the default is the open source driver here. So you want to make sure that it's on the recommended driver here. Otherwise, it won't take advantage of this accelerated 3D. And to be honest, if you can't do that, it doesn't slow it down that much, but it's nice to have this. So I'm just going ahead and close this, and now we hit finish here, and it will go ahead and start to install. Put my password there. I have a USB drive set up, and so it was just saying that it was just warning me of that USB drive. Now you want to click in here and then hit enter. If you don't click in here and hit enter, it won't start. It'll take it to its own in-house BIOS, but you can boot it from there as well. Now to release my mouse, you'll notice I don't have my mouse anymore. You just hit Alt Control Delete, and then that'll release your mouse back to you. Once Windows is installed, you don't have to worry about that Control Alt Delete. But when you're in the DOS prompt, it kind of locks you in there, and that's how you release it. And so there's only 2 things that we have to identify here when we're setting up this automated Windows 11 install, and one is here. You'll see in a sec that we have to choose what version we're installing. Now, because we just said that we're installing Windows Pro 11, that's the only option here, and here it is right here. So we hit next, and you'll notice how in the graphic interface that it gives control of my mouse when I get out of here. And then the other one we have to do is we just have to choose the drive, and obviously we just have one drive to choose because we're doing this in a VM. And that is it. Now you just wait, and it'll go through, and Windows 11 actually reboots a couple of times, but then when it's done, you'll be at the Windows 11 screen. So that's all there is. I'm going to pause the video and let this run through the install. Okay, so when it's done, this is the screen you're going to get. It goes ahead and pops up the menu, and you'll see we have a nice clean interface. Now we do have apps installed here, but they're just going to be in all apps, and then you can start adding what apps you want to the toolbar, so on and so forth. But one of the things I first do here is I don't want it to grab updates right away, so I'm going to just pause the updates for a minute here. Let's go ahead and check the processes here, because we're not done here. So normally when you install Windows 11, your memory might be around 4 to 5 gigs of RAM that's using, and now we're 1.8, maybe 1.7 sometimes, depending. And then processes are 130, and those that might be more like around 140, 150. Okay, so we are going to get the processes down even lower to around the 70 process range. Now, if you didn't install Defender, it would be more around 40 to 50. But I found that it doesn't really make a big difference having Defender running or not. And also, too, I do like Defender on when I'm in Windows on my Linux machine as well. But the first thing we're going to do before we get those down, we're going to install VM's driver pack. And so what we do here is we go ahead and we go up here, and we're going to go in here and say install VM tools, just hit install. And then what that does is that puts it as a right here. I'm going to spread this out just so that it's easier to read this. It'll put it as a DVD drive. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to hit this setup 64. Without doing this, then the display isn't going to. The display driver it installs a display driver and some other stuff. So what this does is this goes ahead and updates some drivers in the system, and it also updates the video driver so that we have more video options. Well, we just need to hit next here, and then I just do the typical install. While that's installing, I'm going to remove the store here. Now we could have removed this when we were setting up the unattainable XML file, but it's not a big deal. There's nothing in there. The store is empty because we didn't really add anything from the store. If you want to add something from the store, you can set that up later. You can put in a your username and password, so on and so forth. I don't do that in here. I want this as clean as possible. I don't want it to be connected to Microsoft. Again, all I'm installing on here is my video driver and maybe a couple other little tools. You saw that I had some tools on there to create this file, or to create. And you saw that I had some other apps on there just so that I could even create this ISO. But I mostly just use it for video editing. So it's going to go ahead and adjust the display driver there. That's why that blacked out. Alright, so once that's done, you just hit finished. And you are going to want to restart at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and restart this. Okay, so now we've rebooted that, so now let's just go ahead. We need to go into the PowerShell. So I'm just going to type in here, PowerShell. And what I'm going to do is I need to go ahead and run this as administrator. Now, one thing about VMware, it'll automatically adjust your screen here. You don't need to adjust it. Whatever size you make this, let me go ahead and it'll adjust the screen to whatever the appropriate size is. So what I'm going to do in the PowerShell is I'm just going to paste this command in, and if you haven't heard of Titus, he has this tool here for cleaning up Windows. Now, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to do with Titus' tool, you probably could do in that website, but I don't know all I just don't know all the commands or whatever, or scripts or whatever you need to do some of the things here. But it's really easy. It's more or less point click, let it run, and then it's done. So if you've never seen the Titus tool before, this section here allows you to install and uninstall all kinds of apps. And then of course some of these you don't even have to go to the Windows Store to install these. And so, but what we want to do here is we want to go
I'll just show you a little bit here. So I'm going to go to updates, and I'm just going to hit security updates only. That's the only updates I want to be running on here. And then the config here, you can get to the control panel, some other settings here if you want, user account, so on and so forth. You can set up so it doesn't auto log. And I'm not gonna be messing with any of these, but you can read through these and just see what they are. And so now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to tweaks, and on tweaks I'm going to hit standard. I'm going to take some things off. I'm not going to worry about creating a restore point. You may want to do that, and then I'm going to leave most of these here with the exception. Now you might want to look at these because some of these you may want, but I'm not going to be doing hardly anything. I'm going to go ahead and undo this disable home group, and then I'm going to you want to disable this Wi-Fi sense, because if it can strip your networking, and so I would leave this off. I would not disable. I would not leave this disabled. And then let's see here. I want to now if you want to De-Bloat Edge, you can. Again, this is a fresh install. And this disable PowerShell telemetry. Of course, I want to keep that on. And so now we're just going to go down here. Now, none of these programs are in here, so it doesn't matter if you want to keep these in here or not. You could disable this IPv6 if you want. I don't even use IPv6, so I could disable that and be fine. And then you can just read what these do. So now I do want to disable background apps. We don't even have Copilot installed, but you could go ahead and hit disable that if you wanted to. So I'm not worried about that. And I'll just hit it here. It won't matter. It's not installed anyway, so it's not a big deal. Now, one of the things here is that this set display for performance, I don't click that because then it doesn't really make any speed difference at all. Now, the one thing about the program here is that we already have the right mouse click because we chose this when we were setting this up. So we have the classic right mouse click here, but you could go ahead and click that if you wanted to. It won't matter. It's already set up. And then you can remove all MS App Store apps. But again, I already put all the apps I want in, so I don't have to worry about it. You can remove Edge at this point. Now, one thing I will say about removing Edge, I would first run Titus, and we could have not installed Edge also. I don't care if Edge is on here at this point. Sometimes I have removed Edge, but I don't really use it as my web browser. And to be honest, I don't really use the browser when I'm running Windows 11 because I'm just doing my video editing. If I got to browse something, I browse it from my Linux desktop. So if you want to remove that, you can. That's up to you. And then remove Home and Gallery from Explorer. I'm just going to remove that anyway. And then OneDrive's not even all in here, but you can install this. One thing I will say, when you're running this and you are running a Windows that does have Edge installed and OneDrive, I have run into problems before if I hit all of these at once, especially Edge and OneDrive. So I'd first run tweaks, then run it again, and remove those individually at a time. I have had problems with that. So, here's my create Win, create that Win utility, and then you can just save it to the desktop here. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and run tweaks. And if we move this to the side, it's just going to run here. And when it's done, it'll just say the tweaks is done running. Now, one thing I forgot to do is where this is a clean install, run disk cleanup. I usually take that off because it takes a little time to run that. Where it's a fresh clean install, it doesn't really matter. That's up to you. Okay, so you're going to notice here it says tweaks are finished. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this. And then I'm going to reboot Windows. Restart. Now I'm going to go ahead and check my processes. And I'm down to 75. So my memory is a little bit less as well. Not a lot, but a little bit. At any rate, so that's really it. And now it's probably going to start downloading security updates at this point. Let's just go ahead. So anyway, that's it. That's all you have to do. And when you start running this with any app that you have that you didn't think that you could run maybe in a VM because it wasn't performing very well, I would definitely try this out. Again, my video editor, if that was my job and I was video editing every day, I probably wouldn't be using Linux and running that in a Windows VM. But for the kind of video editing I do, and maybe whatever app that you have
it may run just perfectly fine with this setup here. And just like any VM, you can go full screen and get rid of all of this here if you want to. I'm obviously keeping this the way it is right here for right now, but you can go ahead and do that as well. You can get rid of this home screen if you want. You can close that, but at any rate, however you want to run your Windows in a VM. So this is TJ with TechMadeEZ. I hope that was helpful. And I'm just going to go. So I'm just going to open up this file manager for a minute and just. There's not much I can show you in here. And you know how sometimes when you launch an app for the first time, it doesn't run as fast. But we got the calculator here, and let me just go in here. I think I did WordPad. Let's go down to WordPad here for a minute. We can open up. Well, I definitely did Notepad. Maybe I didn't do WordPad. Maybe I just did Notepad. But you're going to find that everything's pretty zippy as far as you're running your apps in this particular setup. You can open up Paint here. Anyway, so I've just found that this setup here is the most efficient way to run Windows in a VM, using VMware and just getting rid of all the bloat out of Windows 11. Anyway, this is TJ with TechMadeEZ. I hope that was helpful. Have a great day. Thanks.